I'm sure the intro just spoiled the best part of this video. Anyways, it's not going to be a very long one today, but continuing off of my last video where we saw this grain train make its way from Janesville down to the Avalon grain elevator. We're back up at Avalon today, where the Gavilon crew has gotten the train fully loaded and BNSF has assembled it. It looks to me that these BNSF unit grain trains normally run no farther east than Avalon, typically turning around and taking the WSOR all the way back to the Crawford interchange. But today, it looks like they're heading east out of town all the way to Round Out, Illinois, where they'll hop on the C&M subdivision. It would be fully dark before they departed Avalon, but I had kept my hopes up as we slowly watched it get darker and darker until the train showed up, which by then it was, well, all the way dark. We take the train stop here as an opportunity to get ahead of them, as we assumed somebody was placing the end of train device on the last hopper. But that would be our biggest mistake of the night, as we then had to wait in Walworth for over an hour as the train decided it still wanted to do stuff in the yard. But our patient waiting would eventually pay off as we start to hear distant horns off beyond the city limits, not long after, and our train was here. Some nice echo is heard as the train continues through town. These grain trains begin their journey on the WSOR almost 147 miles away at the Crawford interchange near Prairie du Chien. The grainers travel 70 miles over what WSOR's Prairie subdivision from Crawford to Madison. They then hop on the Madison subdivision, traveling another 38 miles from the namesake of the line to Janesville, where they make their final stretch on WSOR's Fox Lake sub, traveling only a few more miles to Avalon. So, on top of venturing over 100 miles from their own trackage, they also cross over 3 different subdivisions, and if we also count their own trackage and other railroads after getting to Chicago, we add BNSF's Aurora sub, where the train originates, CPKC's C&M sub after hopping off the WSOR at Roundout, and who knows what route they'll take or how many different subdivisions they'll use to get to BRC in Chicago.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.